such a time as this.
Welcome to For Such a Time as This, the place where there is no such thing as a silent witness. Joe Biden has made his pick. For the life of me, I never, ever, ever thought it would be Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. Joe Biden made some statements. I just want to remind everybody of this, and I want to just show why I think this is going to be an issue for the Democrats. We look at the world through Christian lenses here at For Such a Time as This. I'm going to show you the lenses by which both the Christian world should see and how the secular world, sure enough, is going to see. And we'll see the wisdom or the lack thereof of this pick. Just want to remind people of Joe Biden and his comments. Here they are.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, and you ain't black.
It don't have nothing to do with Trump. It has to do with the fact I want something for my community. I would love to see.
Take a look at my record, man. I extended the voting rights 25 years. I have a record that is second to none. The NAACP has endorsed me every time I've run. I mean, come on. Take a look at the record.
Democrat or Republican, blacks don't like white men saying who and who is not black. But that's him. He's going to keep making mistakes. I think some of those statements he said were proven to be false. But then he says it again. He says something along the lines, again, I think disparaging black people. Now, not only if you don't vote for him, you're not black, but you black people, you are all the same.
And by the way, what you all know, but most people don't know, unlike the African-American community, with notable exceptions, the Latino community is an incredibly diverse community with incredibly different attitudes about different things. You go to Florida, you find a very different attitude about immigration in certain places than you do when you're in Arizona. So it's a very different, a very diverse community.
Except for some notable exceptions. Blacks are all the same. That goes perfectly well. Blacks are all the same, except some who snuck off the reservation. Blacks are all the same. And it makes perfect sense. Those two comments from Biden go hand in hand like a hand going in a glove, right? There's no diversity in the African-American community. We know how to manipulate them. We know how to get them to vote Democrat. They're all the same. They're all the same. Very clear what he said there. There's a lack of diversity throughout the African-American community. They're pretty much all the same. The problem is you have someone who disagrees with them.
Another meme says, Kamala Harris is not African-American. Her parents were immigrants from India and Jamaica, and she was raised in Canada, not the United States. And it said, fact. That's what the meme said.
So I was born in Oakland.
Yeah.
and raised in the United States, except for the years that I was in high school in Montreal, Canada. And look, this is the same thing they did to Barack.
Yes.
This is not new to us. And so I think that we know what they're trying to do. They're trying to do what has been happening over the last 2 years, which is powerful voices trying to sow hate and division among us. Mm-hmm. And so we need to recognize when we're being played.
I'm glad you mentioned Barack, because a lot of black people question if Barack was black enough. I see them doing the same thing to you. So what do you say to the people questioning the legitimacy of your blackness?
I think they don't understand who black people are. Because if you do, if you walked on Hampton's campus or Howard's campus or Morehouse or Spelman or Fisk, you would have a much better appreciation for the diaspora, for the diversity, for the beauty in the diversity of who we are as black people. So I'm not going to spend my time trying to educate people about who black people are. Because
I'm not going to waste my time trying to educate people who black people are, because if you went on any of the HBCs, whether it be Hampton, Howard, Morehouse, there's a great diaspora, a great diversity within the African American community. There's no one set mold you can put black people in. That was her argument. But look, none of that's going to matter. That's not going to hurt Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, the fact that one says you ain't black unless you fit a mold, the one who says there's great diversity in the Hispanic community, but there's only, for a few notable exceptions, one mold when it comes to black people. One person says that, the presidential nominee. The vice president nominee says there's great diversity. It's identity politics. The problem with identity politics is you've got to keep it straight. See, you have to figure out what your position is that day, because you know they use it to their advantage. And anyway, look, none of that's going to matter. Let me be very clear. I hate identity politics. Hate it. Hate it. I do believe that a person should be judged by the content of their character, not by the color of their skin. Okay? I do believe that. But that's not with what a lot of people in politics believe. Even the polls. You can't say who's winning the polls. You've got to say who's winning the polls in certain groups. Suburban white females, urban males, a male over 6 feet, males under 6 feet, all this other foolishness. The polls are even broken down in identity politics. But none of that's going to matter. Let me tell you what's going to matter. Because the mainstream media, they'll cover for that. All right? Here's what's going to matter, and you're hearing it from me first. Here are the things that's going to matter, because what happens when people build their houses on shaky foundations, houses crumble. The godless turn on themselves because they can't even live by their own rules. I asked my cousin, do you know who Kamala Harris's husband is? He said no. I then explained to him that her husband is a very rich, wealthy white guy. I don't care. I think it's sin to be racist, but to judge people by the color of one's skin. But that's not what Joe Biden plays by. That's not his rules. That's not the rules Kamala Harris is played by. And whether you know it or not, that right here, let me do it again. This is going to cost her votes. Because I'm telling you, a lot of black people don't know she's married to a white man. That's going to hurt her. I'm telling you, that's going to hurt her, and she is going to suffer simply because she fell in love with a white guy. I'm not blaming her. I don't play by those rules, but the Democratic Party does. And you watch. Not only that, okay, we have up on our Facebook page an article when Kamala Harris went on the Breakfast Club and made it seem as though all Jamaicans smoke weed and get high. Her father, who was Jamaican, got up and attacked his own daughter. Kamala Harris wanted to act like she grew up in the hood, grew up in Oakland. Remember that? I grew up in Oakland. Went on the Breakfast Club and said that she smoked weed and she inhaled because she wants to be down with the people. Article's up here. Mr. Harris, which is her father, Mr. Harris is a professor emeritus of economics at Stanford, where he began in 1972. Before that, he was a professor at the University of Illinois, Northwestern University, and the University of Wisconsin, and is known as an expert in applying post-Keynesian principles. Watch this. He was born and raised in Jamaica, and he admits, Mr. Harris, Professor Harris, Kamala Harris's father, he admits being descended from slave owners. Mr. Harris admits that his family owned slaves. So when you look at the Biden-Harris ticket, that is a ticket to where his members of that ticket owned slaves. They're descended from, they didn't own slaves, but their ancestors owned slaves. And it's not the Biden side of the ticket, it's the Harris side. Mr. Harris admits of being descended from slave owners. I'm fine. I am fine not putting the sins of the forefathers onto the children. I believe each man and each woman should be judged by what they do, not what their forefathers have done. But that's not the rules of the left. It's not the rules. For the life of me. Did not Joe Biden do research? It didn't take me long to figure that out, to find that. Not only is she married to a white guy, which is going to hurt her, which I don't think it should, but her forefathers owned slaves. I don't think that should hurt her, but that's not the rules they play by. All I'm saying is this. When those two things come out, and Trump is, shall we say, the man to do it, when those things come out, and that she is a descendant of slave owners, I think Trump has already won.
For such a time as this,